So, if we think about like boiling down procedural justice issues, there are a few things that, kind of come up. And what this basically sort of means is that if, officers are polite, or at least unbiased, neutral, but we'll say polite. We'll oversimplify into being polite. People will be more polite. And this will lead to more acceptance of officer decisions. And, will lead to, maybe a more harmonious relationship. Between the police and public, right? So it seems fairly simple enough, admittedly, a little gross oversimplification, right? But how do we feel about this? How do we feel about this idea that all we really need to be is polite and respectful, and this will, help alleviate a lot of conflict that occurs between officers and the public? Well, I think, if we sort of like looked at this right, I think we can say check, politeness is good. We like it. If you heard that kid screaming in the background, he was cheering when I said politeness is good. He's learning his lessons in elementary school. Fantastic. We like being polite. We like being treated with dignity and respect. We feel like we have say. We like that at work. We like that among our peers. We like that among our family when they act like you give a shit, right? About how I view and say and think about the world. Like, we love that. I think that's true all over the places, right? So we get politeness. We have more legitimacy, politeness, and more legitimacy. People are more accepting of our decisions because, and this part is key, we don't always know what our rights are or what we are allowed to do, so we kind of have to trust the officer, right? So we're going to have more legitimacy and we're going to have less conflict, right? And that seems good, right? That is good from the police department where we're saving officers, we're having better interactions with the public because we're less antagonistic towards each other. Maybe people are keeping their cool. And that's really good, right? Different question. Is politeness a cure for profiling? Or is it a cure for abusive use of force? Or illegal or harmful searches and seizures? Or is it a cure for, stops being higher in certain areas than others? There's this really important book that I think people should read if they have any interest in this topic, and I believe it's called What Happens After the Stop. I think it's in 2017. That sort of unpacks some of these issues after the stop. The thing is, right, if we focus on, how citizens feel and how they feel about towards police and how they feel if they're treated with dignity and respect, you'll read a ton of research that shows that this does in fact happen, that people are more likely to comply and they're more likely to cooperate in these circumstances, right? They really feel this happens. But that doesn't change situations where we see that maybe police shouldn't be stopping people so much in certain areas, or they shouldn't be stopping, questioning, and frisking people, right? It's one thing to really say that if we are stopping people, and were very nice about it, and before we used to be rude, doesn't change the fact that I was still stopped, right? And that I don't like being stopped, or that even if you are very polite, unbiased in the way that you explain that you decide to pull me out of my vehicle and maybe search the car if I give you permission or you have probable cause, that doesn't change the fact that maybe officers shouldn't be doing that. If someone ends up, being arrested or was escorted away, and I explain it politely, it doesn't change the fact that if that was an abuse of power, that still happened, right? The difference is that now people are polite about it. I think this is an important distinction to think about because, it's really not something that, can happen other way, right? It doesn't resolve issues related to police confusion. It doesn't resolve issues related to, practices that are maybe unkind or unwarranted and stuff like that. So, it really is it's beneficial in terms of getting people to comply and to make you feel like you're legit. But if your power wasn't legit to begin with, right, then you really haven't stopped any kind of instance of police misbehavior. So I think when we think about police kind of theories, if we think about procedural justice, right, we should know that this is not necessarily going to be the end-all cure for all problems facing our society, right? It requires a targeted approach to doing it. Procedural justice will go a long way into helping people maybe cooperate and limit, harms, right, by having, not shitty police officers treating people shittily, right? Like that part is good, but it doesn't change stuff about police practices to begin with. So I think I would encourage everyone that whenever you're reading about a policy or a procedure of some kind, that you need to think deeper about these issues because this kind of thing can happen. And these are the kinds of questions that we need to think about, is that what is the intent of this and how does this solve, other problems that we may face in society. But with that, we'll end our discussion in module video there, and I'll